Hey guys, how are you doing? Today, I'm going to talk about a more pragmatic part of business cases, the calculations. Note that the principles and techniques presented here are useful for estimation cases as well as for regular business cases. Some interviewers actively look for candidates who can do precise, quick calculations, because this skill is actually used on the job. Consultants use their abilities to do simple calculations on two different occasions. One, on presentation checks before presenting their data and conclusions to a partner or client, and two, in client meetings when they need to process numbers quickly to get access to new information and take decisions based on that on the spot. Some examples would be assessing the impact of a new initiative or the relevance of an unexpected problem. Let's start with the principles behind this, and then we'll go over a few useful techniques. There are two principles behind doing calculations in case interviews. Do simple calculations and get precise results. Let's start with do simple calculations. There are two reasons why you should only do simple calculations. First and most importantly, it will save you time. You have only 30 minutes to solve a full business case. Therefore, time is a valuable asset and should be spent wisely. Second, as I have said, some interviewers will actively look for the ability to simplify your calculations. Sometimes, you might want to do quicker calculations, even in spite of some precision. That might be a good idea, as long as 1. You check with the interviewer if that is fine, and this is extremely important, and 2. You're aware of by how much it will change the final result. I cannot stress enough how important it is to check with the interviewer if they're okay with your value rounding. This is one of the most common mistakes our clients do, and it is widely overlooked. Although some interviewers will definitely let you do it, others will not, and they will not like it if you round the values without asking them about it. Now let's take a look at principle number 2, get precise results. Principle number 2 is self-evident. The interviewer needs to know he can trust your math. They will not hire an associate that will make them recheck every piece of math they do, and that will not give trustworthy database decisions. A few little mistakes are acceptable in a case interview, even more so if you catch them yourself. Be prepared to make little or no mistakes, and especially to catch your mistakes with reality checks. Now, let's go over a few useful techniques that I hope will help you in your practice. The first group of techniques I like to call easy numbers. It means you should try using numbers that will make your calculations easier. I can think of 3 techniques in this group, and they are choosing suitable values, knowing suitable values, and handling zeros well. These techniques are not divided in a messy way, nor are they supposed to be. This is just a simple, helpful way to organize them. Choosing suitable numbers involves changing either the value or the format of the number you're using. If you're changing the value, use a value that is similar to the one you're trying to use, but that is easier to get around with. You could change the value to a better one or simply round it. For instance, you could decide to use 1800 rather than 1753. Or else, you may decide to use 270 rather than 280 if you're dividing it by a multiple of 3, or 280 rather than 270 if you're dividing it by a multiple of 7. If you're changing the format, you want to use equivalent numbers with different formats. Factors, fractions, or even sums or subtractions. 1.66 can become 5/3, 12 can become 4 times 3, and 1000 can become 2 to the third times 5 to the third. Knowing suitable values or having easy numbers in mind will help you choose the best values to use as proxies with little deviation. For this, I'd recommend knowing the multiplication tables, the square to some integers, and the reciprocal of some integers. I'd recommend knowing all of this from 1 to 12. Handling zeros well is essentially changing the format of numbers, but it is so important that Bruno and I have decided to keep it at this level. Although this may seem easy, it is one of the most frequent math mistakes our clients make. The problem with this mistake is that your answer will be at least 10 times greater or smaller than the correct answer, and it makes you look careless. There are 2 alternative techniques that you can use to minimize your mistakes. Either use powers of 10, or use k for 1000, m for 1 million, and b for 1 billion. The second bucket is called easy operations. To make your operations easier, you can either change your operation or break your operation down. Let's start with changing your operation. The most common way of changing your operation is changing from divisions or multiplications to percentages. One could, for example, instead of multiplying a number by 1.3, add 30% to it. Instead of multiplying by 0.8, subtract 20%. Alternatively, If they're dividing a number by 0.7, they might as well add 50% to the number. And if they're dividing by 1.5, they might want to subtract 1/3 of it. This requires you already have easy numbers in mind. Here are some more practical examples. Pause this video and think how you would do them in a quick way. Here's how I would do them. 150 times 1.3 is 150 plus 30%, which is 150 plus 45, which is 195. 13 billion over 1.1 is roughly 13 billion minus 10%, which is 13 billion minus 1.3 billion, which is 11.7 billion. Now, let's go over breaking your operation down. Usually, this means turning a number into a combination of 2 or more in a simple operation. A few examples of this first step will make this more clear. You can turn 57 into 60 minus 3. You can turn 109 into either 110 minus 1 or 100 plus 9. You can turn 8 into 5 plus 3, and you can turn 286 into 300 minus 10 minus 4. Now, again, a practical example. Pause again and think of how you would do it before you watch my solution. Here's what I would do. 2.1 million times 44 is 2.1 million times 40 plus 2.1 million times 4. And that's 84 million plus 8.4 million, which is 92.4 million. Now, let's talk about postponing the operation. If you cannot use easy numbers, nor can you use easy operations, or else your gut feeling tells you that you should do so, you can postpone the operation and not do those specific calculations at that time. One would do that in the hopes that new numbers would come up further ahead and would make the operation simpler. This works better for situations where there are several calculations that need to be done, like estimation cases or quantitative analysis. When you decide to postpone the operation, you might decide to either keep the numbers as they are, or factor them and keep their factors. I know this may be a bit too much information, so this tree-style summary might help you a bit. You can pause the video and look at it for as long as you need. Now, doing all this well in a case interview will require some practice. You can get that from doing several calculations, always attempting to find ways to do them quicker. I hope this helps you in your preparation. See you in the next video. Ciao!